Hello future engineers, welcome to my YouTube channel. Here is another video in algebra. I call it algebra 7 in my playlist, and in this video I'm going to present principles on the following topics: word problems in one or two variables. This is the continuation of algebra 6, and particular worded problems to be presented here would be on uniform motion, coin, Diophantines equation, and miscellaneous problems, linear programming. We I also present discussions on matrices and determinants, and on top of it would be the problems to be presented. So these are the topics to be considered. So of course, problems for solution would be in the second part. So I'll discuss first concepts and principles on these topics. So let's have first principles or concepts on uniform motion problems. So it means that motion is uniform. Although in the formula it may be uh, the distance that is held constant or the time that is held constant. But this is the illustration. We have here a moving body, object, a car, for example, at a moving at a constant rate or speed of v units of distance per time. And after a time t, the distance it covers would be denoted by d. And since the motion is constant, uniform, distance is equal to the product of the rate, constant uniform rate, and the time elapsed. And if the speed or rate is to be measured and the distance is held constant, all you have to do is determine the time this distance is covered, so that rate, angular rate, uniform rate or velocity v is distance over time, and likewise it may be the time that is to be determined, so it is equal to distance over the velocity or speed. So this is the formula. You just focus on this part, then these are the other variations of this problem. So for the case where the medium is also moving relative to the ground, the moving object is in a medium that is also moving relative to the ground, such as we have an airplane. So if the airplane has a constant speed of v in still air, and if it is moving with the wind, then we use the concept of effective rate or effective speed, R sub E. So we have here an airplane with a constant speed in still air of V, and the wind is also has this rate C, and if the airplane moves with the wind, the effective speed would be V plus C. If it is moving against the wind, the effective speed would be V minus C. So moving with, and that is moving against. So effective speed, effective rate, R sub E. If the object is moving with the current or with the wind, then it is V plus C, the effective rate or speed. While moving against that medium, we have R sub E equals V minus C. So V is speed of object in still air or water. C is speed of air or current, whichever is appropriate or applicable. Then if motion is happening in a circle, or motion is around a circle or a closed circuit starting at the same point and at the same time, then the distance traveled by the faster runner minus the distance traveled by the slower runner should be equal to one circuit or one circumference if the two runners move in the same direction. If they move in opposite directions, then distance traveled by the faster runner plus distance traveled by the slower runner equals one circuit if they move in the opposite directions. Next concept would be about coin or money problems. So particularly about coins in the US or Americans, 1 penny, a penny is 1 cent, a nickel is 5 cents, a dime is 10 cents, and a quarter is 25 cents. 50 cents is half dollar. Not mentioned here, but it is half dollar. That's a dollar that is less than $1. Next, the Epantin's equation. These are equations where the number of unknowns exceeds the number of equations. And to solve that equation, it is still possible to solve equations where the number of equations is less than the number of unknowns by common sense or the fact that the unknowns involved are whole numbers. So the answers would be whole numbers. So that's the technique or idea. Then miscellaneous problems, there's no rule about this. It's a matter of comprehension, comprehending the algebraic statement, translating English to algebra. That's the only rule about miscellaneous problems. And sometimes miscellaneous problems are challenging in terms of transforming or translating English to algebra. Next is we have linear programming problems. So these are linear equations developed and analyzed in answering optimization problems, not by calculus, but by algebra. So this is in preparation to calculus optimization problems, linear programming. Matrices and determinants. So we define a matrix as a rectangular collection of elements, which are variables and scalars. The dimension or order of a matrix is specified as n by n, where m is the number of rows and n is the number of columns. If a matrix contains only one row, it is called a row matrix. If it contains one column, it is called a column matrix. Then we classify matrices. First, diagonal matrix, when all elements except in the main diagonals are zeros. So examples would be the matrices shown. So you have diagonal matrix. The elements in the main diagonal are non-zeros. Not all zeros, but it may have zeros, but not all. We still call that diagonal matrix, and all other elements zeros. Then when all elements above this diagonal are all zeros, we call that the lower triangular matrix. So we have triangular matrices. When all elements above or below the main diagonal are zeros. So when elements above the diagonals are all zeros, it is called lower triangular matrix. While the other case is upper triangular matrix. And when the elements below the main diagonals are all zeros. So this is an example of the lower triangular matrix, and this one is the upper triangular matrix. Identity matrix is a diagonal matrix with all elements in the main diagonal equal to unity or 1. Scalar matrix is a diagonal matrix having all non-zero elements equal to some other constants. So this is an identity matrix. The scalar matrix is this identity, these elements in the main diagonal are any other value, any other constant value except 1. So that's a scalar matrix, this one. Next, let's have matrix operations. First, the sum of two or more matrices is defined if these matrices have the same number of the same dimensions, same order or dimensions. The resulting matrix consists of elements obtained as the corresponding sum of elements. So for example, we have 2 by 2, 2 by 2. You can add that. The sum is defined, and the sum is also a 2 by 2 matrix, and the result would be adding corresponding elements. So 1 plus 0, 1, negative 8. Then here it's 10, then 11. So 2 by 2, and that's the sum. So we note that two matrices are equal if they have the same order and equal corresponding elements. The next operation is about matrices is the product of two matrices, and that is only defined when the number of columns of the left-hand matrix is equal to the number of rows of the right-hand matrix. That is, for example, m by p by p by n. So it is emphasized that the number of rows in the number of columns rather in the left-hand matrix or first matrix is equal to the number of rows of the second matrix. So the number of rows of the first may also be equal to the number of rows of the second. So in other words, you can simply multiply matrices with the same dimensions or orders. So the result would be m by n. It's like canceling this p by p number of columns of the left-hand matrix, number of rows of the right-hand matrix. So example, we have here 2 by 2 by 2 by 2. So the product would be row 1 should be cross multiplied with column 1. So 1 times 0 plus negative 6 times 6. So that would be negative 36. 1 times negative 2, negative 2, then negative 6, negative 8. Then 4 times 0, 0, 60. Then in the last 2 by 2 element, in row 2, column 2 element, it is negative 8 plus 10, which is positive 2. So of course, that's an easy job, basic operation. And for 4 by 4 up to 4 by 4 by 4 by 4, you can also multiply. You can also check your evaluation by using your calculator. Then we have scalar multiplication. When a scalar is multiplied to a matrix, then each of the elements of that matrix will also be multiplied by that scalar. So k times the elements a, b, c, d. So we have k, kb, kc, kd. So where k is a scalar. Next, division of square matrices is accomplished. It is defined by multiplying the inverse of the square matrix in the denominator by the square matrix in the numerator. So we have to obtain first the inverse of the square matrix in the denominator, then we have to post multiply it by the square matrix in the numerator. The transpose of a square matrix M by N, the transpose of a matrix M by N, is simply the matrix N by M with corresponding row and column elements interchanged. The transpose of a matrix A is denoted by A transpose, like this symbol there. So for example, you have A with elements A, B, C, D, row 1 elements A, B, row 2 C, D. Row 1 becomes column 1, row 2 elements becomes column 2 in its transpose. Then the determinant of a square matrix, only square matrix has determinants, of course. The determinant D of a matrix is a scalar computed from a square matrix. Here are the properties of determinants. First, the determinant is 0 when a matrix has either row or columns of zeros. So in this 3 by 3 matrix example, the determinant is 0 because we have row of zeros. Row 1 elements are all 0, so the determinant is 0. Or in this case, we have column 2 elements are 0, so the determinant is 0. Next, the determinant of a diagonal matrix is the product of the diagonal elements. So remember, diagonal matrix, all elements outside that diagonal elements are zeros. So the determinant of this matrix will be 3 times 4 times negative 2. So that's negative 24. Third property, the determinant is 0 if a matrix has 2 identical rows or columns. So in this example here, you have rows 2 and 3 identical, so the determinant is 0. Although you can, even if you do not know this property, you can still check this with your calculator, or you can check this manually. Anyway, this is just 3 by 3. And in this second example, columns 1 and 3 are identical correspondingly. So the determinant is 0. Fourth property, the determinant of a matrix and its transpose is the same. So we have here an example. This is the original matrix, row 1, 4, 3, negative 2, 1. Then let's make row 1 as column 1 and row 2 elements column 2. The determinant would still be 0. 4 minus negative 6, so that's positive 10. Fifth property, the determinant is 0 when corresponding elements of 2 rows or columns are proportional. So that's the concept or idea. So as an example here, we have rows 1 and 3 have proportional elements. Row 3 elements are obtained by multiplying row 1 elements by 2. So that's why the determinant is 0 for this case. Again, you can check the determinant manually or using your calculator. 6. The determinant is multiplied by k if all elements in a row or column are multiplied by k. So in this example here, it's like the determinant of this is 3 minus negative 8, 11. So that means if the determinant is this row, column 2 elements are multiplied by 2. So if the determinant of this is 11, we have the same column 1 elements and column 2 elements are multiplied by 2. 2 times 4, 8, 2 times 3, 6. So we expect that the determinant of this is 2 times 11 or 22. So it's 22. Next, the sign of the value of the determinant is changed if 2 rows or columns are interchanged. So that's the next property. So for instance, if we interchange rows 1 and 2 positions, then this is the original matrix. When we interchange rows 1 and 2, then we expect that the sign of the determinant of this would be change sign. So it becomes the negative of whatever is the result of this determinant. Or it is the negative of this determinant, which is the same as this, the determinant of this. So next, the value. This is very important, especially in row operations. The value of the determinant is unchanged if, so we have interchange. If each element of a row or column is multiplied by scalar k and added or subtracted from to the corresponding elements of another row or column. So remember this concept, especially in elementary row operations with matrices. So the determinant won't be a change in value if each element of a row or column is multiplied by scalar k, and then we add that to the corresponding elements of another row or column. So addition or subtraction. So here we have row 2 is these new row 2 elements are obtained by adding 2 times this row 1 element. So 2 times 2 is 4. 2 times 2 is 4. Then we add it to negative 2. That's why it becomes 2. 3 times 2 is 6 plus 5, 11. 4 times 2 is 8 plus 1, 9. So the new elements in row 2 would be 2, 11, and 9 after we add original row 2 elements by 2 times row 1 elements. It may be 2 times row 3 elements. It may be negative 3 times row 3 elements, then we add it to row 2 or subtract it, the result, to row 2 elements. The determinant will still be the same. Then lastly, we have inverse of a matrix denoted by a to the negative 1. The inverse of a matrix A is denoted by bracket to the negative 1 such that the product of the matrix A and its inverse is an identity matrix. And we defined it in this manner. So inverse of a matrix is the adjoint of matrix A divided by determinant of A. So that's one definition of inverse of matrix A. A adjoint divided by determinant of A. So we must define the adjoint of matrix A. So before we can define adjoint of a matrix, let's have first the concept on minor of an element. We denote it by Mij and cofactor of an element. First, minor. The minor of an element is the unsigned determinant of the matrix formed by omitting elements row and column of the original matrix. So let's have this example, 2 by 2. So the minor of element D is A, as shown. Minor of element C is B. It is unsigned. Just omit row and column through that element. So that's it. Minor of A is D. Minor of B is C. Minor of C is B. And so on and so forth. So if we have a 3 by 3 matrix, the minor of element I would be the reduced 2 by 2 matrix. So we omit row and column elements of that element. Then the minor is AE minus BD. If this 4 by 4 matrix, then for instance, we have 4 by 4 and we want the minor of O, so we eliminate row and column through that element, and we have a 3 by 3 matrix. So the determinant of that 3 by 3 matrix is the minor of element O. Then how about cofactor of an element, IJ? The cofactor of an element is the signed minor of the same element. So for diagonal elements where the assigned signs would be positive, the minors and cofactors are the same. But for all other elements, we have to imagine that there are alternating signs assigned to the elements. So we have alternating signs, plus, minus, and so on and so forth. So we notice that the assigned elements to diagonals are plus. So that's why the minor of these diagonal elements would be same as the cofactor rather of these diagonal elements would be the same as the corresponding minor of that particular element. So if the sign is plus, then the minor and cofactor are the same. So in general, we have a negative sign when the sum of the row and column position of that element is add. So for instance, this is row 2, column 1, 2 plus 1 is 3. That's why the sign is negative 1. Or just imagine the assigned sign of that element is negative 1 raised to I plus j, where I is the row position, j the column position of that element. So the cofactor of B, because it is negative, the sign is negative, so it is the negative minor of B. So this is if we are going to define a formula, that's the general formula. So that's why it's the negative minor of B. Then to be specific, then we have the negative of when we omit the row and column position of B. So we have DFGI. So it's the negative of quantity DI minus GF. While the cofactor of E, because E is a diagonal element and the assigned sign is plus, because this is row 2, column 2, 2 plus 2 is 4, is the same as its minor. So from there, we can now define the classical adjoint of a matrix, adjoint of A. The adjoint of matrix A, classical adjoint of a matrix A, is a matrix obtained from the transpose cofactor matrix and is denoted by A adjoint. So it is quantity cofactors of elements of A, then we obtain the transpose of that matrix. So cofactor of elements of A, then we transpose it. So that's the adjoint of a matrix.